Hi, Nancy here. Welcome to my craft room. Today I'm working with the Simon Says Stamp 2018 card kit, and I'm using the Crafty Friends stamp kit to make 3 cards. I think the first card turned out to be my favorite card, and I'm going to walk you through how I put it together. The first thing I did is I made a couple of panels. I'm using a scallop die from Dynamics to cut out a smaller rectangle, which is going to contain the body of my stamping on it. And I've gone ahead and I've cut that out, and now I'm going to use some um, coordinating inks to match this piece of flowered cardstock that came in the kit. One thing I've learned over the last couple of years is that what really makes an attractive card is having inks and supplies that all match. So I've started getting more supplies, and now I have a few more inks and I'm able to match things a little closer. So I've used a Hero Art ink cube to stamp out the sentiment, which is handcrafted hello, and I'm going to place that on the top of the panel. And then I'm going to cut out a smaller piece of the flowered cardstock and glue that down on the bottom of the panel. I've really been enjoying the Nouveau Crystal, or the Nouveau, what is it called? The Nouveau Deluxe Adhesive. It's such a nice glue, and I would suggest if you haven't been using glue, maybe to try it. That it's so much easier than a tape runner. The first thing I'm going to do though is take there's like a dotted line stamp that's in the kit, and I'm going to use that same ink and stamp out kind of a border at the bottom of the card there. And I kind of mess around with it a couple times trying to figure out whether I should do it before I glue the card panel down or after. And I stamped it down, and when I glued the panel down, it covered it, so I ended up having to do it the second time. So after a few attempts, I finally get the panel down where I want it and the stamped line in the position that I want it. And then I can move on and use some of the other stamps in the kit. There is a crayon that I'm going to use a Hero Arts watermelon hybrid ink pad, and I'm going to stamp that crayon 3 times, once in the middle and then once to each side. Now to add some more interest to the card, I'm going to take some twine. It's a crochet twine in a white, and I'm going to wrap it around the panel 3 or 4 times and then tie a bow on the side. And I'm sorry, I get off screen a few times there. I think my battery actually went dead and I had to stop and put a new battery in, and then I kind of got it off focus. But anyway, I finally get the twine tied, and now I'm going to take a piece of brown cardstock, and I've cut that into a panel that's slightly smaller than 4.5 by 5 inches. I'm using the glue, and I'm going to glue that down to my card panel. And then I'm going to take the scallop die panel that I've done all the stamping on, and I'm going to use some foam tape to kind of raise that up onto the panel. I also wanted to secure the twine there, so I'm laying the tape over the twine so that will hold it in place. I'll secure that panel onto the top of the brown cardstock and push it down. And then for some finishing touches, I'm going to take some clear Nouveau crystal drops and place that on the middle of the heart and then on the tips of the crayon. And that completes my first card. So now on to card number 2. This is the panel that I've created, and I wanted to do it once in advance because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, and then I'm going to recreate it here on camera. So I'm using that Spellbinders rectangle die, which is just slightly smaller than 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and I've cut that out. And then I'm going to take some tape that I've had in my stash forever and put that to good use. And I'm going to use a purple, a pink, and a yellow and place that horizontally across my cardstock. And for some added interest, I'm going to also use that dotted line die again from the stamp kit. And I'm going to use the coordinating colors of inks and just place that stamped line in between each of those pieces of washi tape. Now I'm going to work on my sentiment, and I'm going to use some yellow ink, and I'm going to choose the sentiment "You Make Everything Colorful" and stamp that over on the right hand side of the card. Then in the stamps there's a watercolor platelet that I'm going to stamp down. There is another crayon that I'm going to use. There's a brush, a paintbrush, and there's also, I believe it's like a bottle of paint that I'm stamping there in the yellow. And I'm just trying to color coordinate the inks that I've already used on these additional stamps, and just trying to give the card some interest. There's a little heart in the kit as well, and I'm going to stamp that down a few times. And once I'm happy with that, I'm going to try to put some bells and whistles onto this card. I have a little sequin mix, and I'm not really sure what it's called, but it has many of the colors that I'm using in this card, and so I'm just going to secure those down with some glue. And I decided that the watercolor platelet would look pretty if I stuck those sequins onto that. So I was happy with that. I tend to like very clean and simple cards, and I've really been trying to challenge myself to add a few bells and whistles to my cards. It really doesn't come too natural to me. So to finish this card off, I'm going to use a lavender panel, and I've decided to stamp that lined stamp off to the left of the lined panel to bring a little bit more interest, and then put the panel closer to the right when I glue it down. So I'm going to go ahead and get that down onto the card. And then that completes my second card. I always put my initials on the back of the card along with the year. It's fun to go back and look at how I've progressed over the years. So there's my 2 cards that I made. And then I went ahead and made this third card, but unfortunately I didn't get that filmed. I just went ahead and took some still pictures. I used many of the components that were in the stamp kit, and I stamped it down with a lot of multicolored inks, and I created a tag using the My Favorite Things dynamic die cut, and then I just adhered everything together. So here's a final look at the cards that I made, and I hope I may have inspired you, and I hope you will come back and visit me again soon. If you like these videos, please give me a thumbs up. Thanks, and go do something creative today.